Well, clearly Thursday night last week didn't go as we would have hoped. I think Clemson has a really good football team, and you couple that with we played about as poorly as you could play, especially offensively. And, you're not going to get the results you want to have. The good news is you get to play again in this sport. You get to move to the next game, and we got another game on Saturday against another undefeated nationally ranked team, so we have a chance to see if we can't come out and play a little better than we did on Thursday night.
Questions for Coach? Please be sure to get a microphone.
Last week you faced the team that's right now is the number 3 defense in the country, and this week you faced the number 2 team, so it's out of the frying pan into the fire, I guess.
Yeah, we've played some pretty good defenses this year. But clearly we've got to do a better job executing ourselves all the way around, and it starts up front. But it involves everybody, and we got to do a better job coaching this week and getting them ready to play.
Questions for Coach?
I realized yesterday that we hadn't asked you about your new AD, and just kind of wanted to get some thoughts about that.
Yeah, well, I had a chance to meet with him briefly last week before we left, and we've kind of known each other in passing. I'm excited about him coming. I'm sure that he shares Dr. Peterson's vision for what he wants, and he's been here at Georgia Tech, so he knows the place, and I'm sure he'd be excited to be here.
Is the fact, I guess, two things that he's, like you mentioned, that he's been to Tech or had graduated Tech and worked here, but also that he played football. Does that?
Yeah, I think that's a positive. At least he understands what it's about. So I look forward to having a chance to sit down and spend some more time with him and visit with him when he gets here. Yeah.
Your offense is predicated on not having any negative yardage plays on first or second down.
Well, you'd like to. I don't know if that's the thing, but I think any offense you'd like to not have negative yardage. We haven't been. I thought we were making strides. Offensively, we struggled in the first game at Boston College. Next game against Mercer, we played okay. The competition was different. And then I thought against Vanderbilt, we started to put it together and play pretty good. And then last week was a train wreck. So, we'll see how we do this week. But clearly we got to play better. It's something that this last little bit is totally uncharacteristic for what we've been doing since 1985. It's not, we've got to do it better. We've got to play better, and we got to coach better. We got to, it's like I told our assistant coaches, you're accountable for the way they're playing, just like I'm accountable for the results. So,
Paul, when you talk about making improvements on offense and reducing the number of negative yardage plays and so forth and so on, how does it break down? Is it more about missed assignments, players doing the wrong things, or not executing what they're supposed to do? Sometimes they're mental mistakes, sometimes they're physical.
It's a little of both, but what's going to happen is you're going to have guys who miss block. I mean, that's why you play the game. Everybody's not going to, if everybody was perfect on every play, they'd all be touchdowns, right? They're all drawn up to be successful. But what I'm talking about is you can't have the missed assignments on top of the, we were playing a team that was really physical and really good. So they're going to beat your blocks a lot. So you can't afford to not block the right guy or to turn somebody loose. I mean, you take the first series, okay. They come out and they line up in a 3-4 defense. All right, we were going to try to run a double option and load the read key with the fullback. Well, he misses. He puts his head down, he takes a bad angle, and he doesn't touch him, and it's 2nd and 15. Okay? So then we try to go some turn-back pass protection, and we turn the nose guard loose. We let him run right by the right guard, the right tackle. He just runs around and sacks the quarterback. That's the stuff I'm talking about. That had nothing to do with beating blocks or that. So that's what you've got to do away with. Now, there were times when we ran the option that the tackle would come down and take the B back. Quarterback would pull the ball to go to the edge. Our tackles got great angles on the linebacker, guard and tackle. They just whiffed him. That's not a missed assignment. That's just missing a block. If you go to the right guy, you know, now I'd like to think we could get him more than we did, but at least they were going to the right guy. That's, you know, we've got to help coach their technique and help coach them to do a better job of getting that guy. Now, if you decide not to go get that guy, that's a missed assignment. And the second series, we had a guy who blocked the read key instead of releasing, and now it's 2nd and 14 again. And what happened? Well, I thought I heard him say, I thought he checked the play. You know, I mean, it's like a guy told me one time, everybody's got a story if you got time to listen. You know, nobody does it on purpose, but you got to have more poise, and you can't do it, and especially against better people. The nature of what we do when we're going to play a team like Clemson and basically a team like Miami, they're very similar. The nature of what we do is we've got to out-execute them. We got to out-execute. We're not going to have better athletes than Clemson. We're not. But that doesn't mean you can't beat them if you go out and execute and play. But you're not going to beat them if you have 25 missed assignments, because you don't give yourself a chance to execute. The third quarter was so much better. And if you look at the third quarter, what happened, we got a couple third down stops on defense, which we weren't getting in the first half, right? And then the offense held the ball for 11 minutes. We didn't score, but they had the ball for 11 minutes because we were able to string some first downs, and now they're not out there. And so if you execute, and let's say that you scored twice in the third quarter and you get a couple third down stops, now you got a game. You're in the fourth quarter and you play. In that game Thursday night, the more possessions you had wasn't in our favor. You know, it wasn't like the longer we can play, well, we're better than they are, so the longer we can make this game go, the better chance we got. So, and offensively, we were bad. And truthfully, defensively, we kind of hung on a little bit in the first half, but they missed a field goal. They had 350 yards at halftime. So the second half, we played much better. But the defense got some help. You know, the offense was able to stay on the field. Weren't scoring a lot, but they bounced up the time of possession. It wasn't, you know, just 3 and out repeatedly. So it's the way you got to play.
You to elaborate on poise and not being afraid to make a mistake, and I wonder if in particular on offense there was a bit of a reset at halftime. You played more effectively in the second half offensively than in the first, but is there a greater chance when it starts as poorly as it did right off the bat, that first possession, that these guys don't clear their heads and flush what just happened series to series, and it kind of just perpetuates itself and snowballs? Are these guys good enough at flushing their minds when something doesn't go well?
I think that's a possibility, and that's a pretty good analogy. When things don't go well early, sometimes it's panic. And, you know, I tried to stress to our guys last week at the hotel on Thursday and during the thing, you know, everybody thinks it's all these locker room speeches and come out and beat your head into the wall and, I'm fired up. You better be poised and execute. All that stuff's gone after you get hit in the mouth a couple of times. You know, that rah-rah, I'm going to kill somebody, and then all of a sudden, boom. Well, wait a minute. That guy's got pads too. Well, hold on. You know, so you better execute and play. And for whatever reason, we struggle when we play ourselves. Like Saturday morning scrimmages at times, whichever side gets the jump, it's like we have the hardest time the other side ever stopping it. I mean, it just steamrolls. If it's the defense against the offense or offense against the defense. And that's what I'm talking about with poise. And I think some of that's experience. And then some of it last week was a really good opponent. And, you know, it just kind of happen. You know, we've struggled to start games defensively. I mean, we've given up touchdowns on the first possession, I think, the last 3 games. And then we've settled down a little better over there, you know. And it helped us Thursday night that they came down and missed a field goal, and we got a stop, and then you start to gain a little confidence, and then in the third quarter we got a couple third down stops, and then you gain some confidence. So it's if I had the answer, we wouldn't do it. But I know it's an issue.
Along the lines of, you didn't lose to Presbyterian.
Mm-hmm.
Miami's wins over Florida Atlantic and Florida A&M and Appalachian. I would assume it's too early to put too much on defensive stats based upon those games. How rare is Clemson's defense in the ACC these days? It seems like we're seeing a lot of games with both teams in the 30s, and unless it's Clemson.
Well, there's two things. Clemson's defense is very good. They probably got. Let me tell you how good they are. They were really good a year ago, good enough to get to the national championship game, and 2 of the guys that started a year ago are backing up. So they're good. I can't tell you about the back end of their defense because I haven't seen anybody get to it. But now they'll have a huge challenge this week. I mean, they're playing a team that's putting up unbelievable numbers, so we'll see. But they're good. I think that what happens is when you look at scores just in themselves, as I've said before, can be very deceiving. I'll take a team and a couple of teams in our league. You take Syracuse, okay, who tries to play 800 miles an hour. For them to be in a 24-17 game would be like us being in a 7-3 game because they're getting 3 times the possessions. And their defense is also getting 3 times the guys against. North Carolina plays that way. You know, there's a lot of teams who play. So those scores are, over the long span, going to be more. Common sense would tell you if I play a game and I get 15 to 18 possessions in a game, I'm going to score more than if I get 9 to 12. And the other team will score more against me than if they had 9 to 12. So over the long span, so it's just you have to decide how you want to play and what gives you the best chance to play. If I thought it gave us a better chance to win the game to get 15 to 18 possessions, we'd go out there and go breakneck too, you know, fast as we could go and just let it go. I think we're a better team when we can control the time of possession and we can control the you know, that and play 8 to 12 possessions, 8 to 10, you know, because it limits what the other team can do too. But we got to be way more efficient offensively if we're going to do that. You can't play that way and be terrible on third down on offense and be terrible on third down on defense because you'll get killed in time of possession.
Two-part question. First, you face another quarterback this week. I don't know how similar he is to Deshaun and kind of he throws the ball around. And secondly, do you feel like Mark's knowledge of playing you guys over the years will come into play maybe this weekend?
The first part, he's very, very talented. I think he's different than Deshaun in that he's not the run threat and they don't use him in the run game as much. He's more the prototypical drop back passer. Not that Deshaun can't do that, but they use him a lot in their run game. You know, I have no idea. I think that sometimes that might be overblown a bit too because the guys on the field are going to play, and you know, we've got some familiarity with them. They got some familiarity with us, so it's but it's mostly flipped. It's mostly their offense, our defense, because they got a brand new defensive coordinator. They're not, you know, Georgia was 3-4, they're 4-3. It's, yeah. But I'm sure they'll carry some things over. But everybody's going to want to do their own thing. I'm sure that, you know, Manny Diaz, who's their defensive coordinator, like you said, they're what, second or third in the country, and they lead the country, and he's not going to change his stuff to do what Georgia did because I'm sure he feels like, and if he does, that might be an advantage for us. if they change what they've been doing so successfully. So you just have to see. Now they could, but you just have to see.
With Manny Diaz, it's a little bit interesting. He hasn't really faced Yale's offense as a defensive coordinator as far back as I could check. Other than he was an assistant when you were at Navy or something, played y'all. But how do you approach that? Do you just go off of how they play other types of option teams, or
You use your best judgment on what they're going to do, and what we try to do offensively. You wouldn't have known it on Thursday, but what we kind of get ready for each. You know, there's 4-man fronts and 3-man fronts and cover 2 and 1 high safety and 2 high. We just practice against all of it, and then we adjust as we play. And historically, through the years, that's been a good way to do it. It hasn't, you know, we don't get just locked in on, well, they're going to be this, and then if they're not that, oh gosh, they didn't line up that way, you know. But the nature of what we do, it really doesn't matter, because it's like if I'm the tackle and I got the first linebacker head up inside, it doesn't matter if it's a 4-3 or a 3-4 or whatever. I got the first linebacker head up inside, you know. And as long as I've had reps against all of them, I should know what to do. And especially when I do the same thing every week.